And I realized there's something different that happened because of that. I realized something had changed to me because snakes don't have ears.
Mm-hmm.
They only feel vibrations.
Vibration.
Right? And so it accepted me because whatever in me had died, and I just haven't been the same.
Welcome to Going Within, the podcast where I, David Naylor, and our guests dive deep, sharing our transformative journeys with psychedelic therapy and other awakening experiences. Join us as we explore the life-changing potential of going within and listening to inspiring stories of transformation from various life experiences and ceremonies. Now, let's go within. Patrick Stanger is a dynamic, multifaceted individual who has led a fascinating and varied life. At the heart, he's an artist and creator who always seeks to bring his unique vision to the world. After completing his education, Patrick embarked on a career in radio as an air personality and creative director. His talents and creativity quickly earned him a reputation as a top performer in the industry. If I had one thing to say about Patrick, he has gone through one of the biggest transformations and awakenings through plant medicine and his therapy, and I'm so excited to have him on the show to share about his experiences. So today, my wish came true. I always wanted to have an alien on the show. And today is the day. So, Patrick, welcome to the Going Within show. It's an honor to have you on, and thanks for being here.
Man, thank you so much for having me, David.
I met you because you came to Within maybe about 9 months ago, and you had been sitting at another clinic or clinics, other types, doing ketamine treatment for yourself. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think that'll probably lead me to the first question of like, why did you look for ketamine or psychedelics? Like, what was going on in your life that had you draw to psychedelic medicine?
Yeah. I think there's always been, like I've been through recovery in my life. I've had some addiction issues, mm-hmm. right? And went through the 12-step route. I've been through counseling and done all that, but I could just seem to be that I never fully could heal, mm-hmm. right? To get to a place of a settledness inside, mm-hmm. for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And it was almost out of a place of like rock bottom and desperation, like nothing else is working, you know? And it was like, when I sought psychedelic treatment, you know, my then wife had left, you know, I'd already looked into MDMA, couldn't find a facilitator previous to that, but like ketamine was on my radar because I knew I could get that, right, for clinical use. Mm-hmm. And when my wife and I, you know, split up, it was a difficult time. You know, I just, it's like, I didn't really want to live, right? Like but I didn't want to die either, right? And then it's a really difficult thing to understand and explain. And I think if people feel it and been there, they know, right? Mm-hmm. And so I sought out ketamine you know, it's like, well, I'm going to try this. Might as well try something different, you know, as scary as it seemed to go and to do such an extreme measure of like, you know, putting on blindfolds and taking ketamine and just, you know, flying through the cosmos, you know. And I'm so glad I did.
Oh, man. Yeah. So when you say you're so glad you did, what happened? I mean, you were going through, you said, a rock bottom. Your wife and you divorced after how many years?
We'd been together 11 but married years. Almost 10. Yeah. So
a decade of marriage, rock bottom. And you know, what happened after this treatment?
Well, you know, I spent a lot of time previous to that, like building a business too on top of that. And that was starting, you know, my relationship with my business partner was
at rock bottom.
At rock bottom. And then he wanted out. He wanted, you know, to either dissolve the business or for me to buy it or him to buy it.
Yeah.
So I chose to sell it to him.
Got it.
I was in the middle of a divorce, you know, like I couldn't, you know, I just was like, yeah, just let it go.
What else was rock bottom in your life?
My emotional state, spiritual state. Like I was an empty shell. I was taking 60 milligrams of Adderall to keep up, you know, with life. I mean, and like I was just exhausted. I was just exhausted, you know, and you know, the ketamine offered me that realization into myself, right? Gave me my own voice, peeled away all the walls and the layers that had built up around my heart over time, you know, and allowed me to hear that voice again inside, and not everybody else's voice, not other people's voice, right? Like not all the clutter from the news and whomever, but me, the voice inside of me, you know?
There's so many people that are in that space and stay there for quite a long time. And then they just label themselves. I'm depressed. I have anxiety. They get the pharmaceuticals, and I can't tell you how many stories. Why didn't you go that route and just, that's a question I really have. Why not just, what really had you going deeper to transform? Because obviously you've gone through a major transformation, and you've lost how much weight have you lost?
Yeah, I've lost 10, 15 pounds,
Amazing.
you know, since then. And, you know, put on a little more muscle. I've gotten in a lot better shape. I feel better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, just mentally sharper. But I think that I'd always been told about the traditional medical model of, you know, psychiatric medicines and whatnot. And I'm sure they do help some people.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I had tried, I know I had tried them like years ago. And, you know, I just I don't think it worked for me that well. Right. And, you know, I started to become aware of this medical model that is kind of sold to us, right? I remember, I don't know, I got sick, and I was always brought up to be like, go to the doctor when you're sick, right? So I went to this doctor, I was sick, and they gave me some antibiotics, and it made me sick for like 3 or 4 months, just the medication alone. And then that started to open up my awareness about, what am I doing? Why am I putting this in my body? Why can't I heal myself, right? And so that's when I started on that path of like, you know, just, I'm going to heal the source, right? I want to like take care of myself. And so I had started working on my diet and exercise, right? And then, you know, and just allowing myself to heal. And that's why whenever it came time for me to, you know, look at myself again and to try to heal, because I was just wounded, right? I was exhausted, that I chose a different route other than medicine, right?
And I think that's what, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's what I want viewers and listeners to understand. No matter how bad a shape someone is in, no matter how depressed, anxiety, how much weight you're carrying, how much just your life is in the darkest place, there is a light around the corner. There's a rainbow across the storm. There's a butterfly on the other side of the worm and chrysalis. Like, we can heal our lives, because I've been there. I've been there, depressed, rehab, anxiety, suicidal, diagnosed with all kinds of medical terms that we all came up with, that medical doctors came up with. I've been there, right? And I love transformation. I love healing. I love awakening. And you have one of the most fascinating stories. I'm looking forward to understanding more of this. So tell me, you dove into ketamine therapy after you started to realize you could heal yourself. How did ketamine therapy, how did this whole therapy work for you?
Yeah, I remember, you know, putting on the blindfolds, and, you know, I started with the intravenous ketamine.
You started with the IV.
Yeah,
intravenous IV, kind of the drip model. Yeah. So there's different, just so anyone listening, there's the IV drip. Yeah. There's the intramuscular shot. Different people have lozenges, and then so people have different thoughts and beliefs on what's most effective. But yeah, I know that you started with IV and then moved within. You came to within to do our model.
Yes.
Yeah. Walk us through that whole process.
Yeah, and by the way, there was nothing wrong. Everything was fine. I had a lot of fear doing the ketamine, and I would feel feelings of bliss, but I would also feel heavy feelings of fear that I recognized. But I had a visual to it. I remember this fear has been with me my whole life, and I would recognize it in the journey. And I talk about this a lot. On the 4th session was what I call my ego death or near-death experience or whatever that I internally happened. I was fine on the outside. But on the inside, I allowed myself to have a dying experience. See, I allowed that.
You allowed it.
I allowed it. So I want to be clear that just because that happened to me doesn't mean that's going to happen to somebody else. I allowed that because that's what needed to happen to me.
I can relate.
Yeah. And when it was scary, and I had to accept death, just like being on an airplane, right? And so no one's like, oh, this plane's going to crash, and now I got to sit here and wait like 5 minutes.
You can
or
resist
something.
it. You can resist it and just persist the fear, or we can allow it to work to move through.
Yeah. And that's what I had to learn to do in the middle of that journey, was accept death in that moment. And I did. I just died. I just allowed myself to die, and I just dropped and faded into like a void. And I could look out and see eternity from this void. And it seemed to last forever. And it was like colorful and beautiful, but I couldn't access it. I was just in this void. And, I died. All of that stuff in me died. All of the fear, shame, and guilt, and the trauma that had been trapped in my body, it died. I haven't been the same since I woke up from that.
My teacher, who's also, you have the same teacher, we have a similar teacher, same teacher, says allow is one of the most powerful words that you can use in a journey space, in a ceremony space. Yeah. Because when something comes up we need to look at, if we can just allow it to happen, even though it's scary, it moves the energy that's been stuck in somewhere in the body or somewhere where it's been stuck, and it can move through. And allow is one of the most powerful words. Yeah.
And you actually, you're the one that taught me that too. I remember, before we sat in another ceremony, allow, and although I allowed that death to happen to me, I didn't even realize, and so I take that word, and every time I journey, it's always on top of my mind. It's allow.
So what happened after that happened? You allowed death, you allowed the void, you allowed that to finally move through. Then what happened?
Yeah. I remember waking up, like pulling off my goggles and headphones and trying to explain to the infusionologist or whatever they're called. I don't know.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
The infusionist, maybe.
I like the infusionologist.
The infusion. But I try to, I was like, something happened, I just died. And he's like, man, you're okay. You're okay. And it was hard for me to grasp that I was okay. As I came out of that, I remember like, the unique part of the story is it really is like happened 2 days later. It was on December 23rd, 2021. I was walking in the park 2 days before Christmas, and it was right next to this pond. And it was kind of dusk. It was like starting to be kind of late. And I stepped within like 6 inches of this fat water moccasin. Like literally the snake is on the ground, and I stepped right next to it. And I looked right as I'm stepping, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a snake right there.
It's a 3D metaphor.
Yeah. It just laid there. It didn't move. It accepted me there. It didn't. And I'd had 2 other experiences with a venomous snake prior to that, and they both struck at me. A rattlesnake and a water moccasin. One was when I was 12, and the other one was like 34. Yeah. 30 or 35. And they both struck at me. That was the first time that the snake didn't strike. And in fact, it just accepted me there. And I realized there's something different that happened because of that. I realized something had changed to me, because snakes don't have ears. They only feel vibrations. Right? And so it accepted me because whatever in me had died. And so that really helped the integration process to understand what transformation had happened, what was going on in me, right? Because it was about the integration, like what happened after that? How did I make the stories? How did I put things together? I do know that the rest of the journeys I've done with ketamine have been, I've been able to navigate and to get better downloads, because a lot of that fear is gone, right? And so now I'm able to navigate the experience better and to accept and allow, right? I just haven't been the same, even how I look at life. I didn't realize this, but like I was scared of the dark. Yeah. I was afraid of the dark. Now I can just sit in the dark and be fine.
This is so weird you're saying this, okay? This is just inspiring me. I used to be afraid to fly in the clouds. I used to be, it just fear would come into my body, right? Fear would come into my body if I was around people too close. If it got too intimate, fear would then come up in my body, right? There were lots of areas where fear would engulf me, right? By sitting with plant medicine and going through similar allowances, going into the void, going into the infinite, going into the oneness, going into eternity, whatever it is, to move through my body. When I'm in the clouds, I can take that breath, and it's almost like an anchor now where the fear doesn't rush in anymore. Or when I'm intimate with someone, that fear doesn't rush into me anymore. So the journeys have correlated with real life change. where the depression's not there, the fear's not there, the anxiety's not there. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
And I'll give one more little metaphor. I remember going to Peru, and on the way back, I went to Peru, sat with ayahuasca, did a darkness retreat, the whole thing. And on the way back on the plane, we were in the clouds, and I'm looking out, and the left engine blows right in front of me. Sparks,
Whoa.
fire in the clouds. And I was able to just go within and just be. And of course, we got to Lima, right? Because we had another engine.
Yeah.
But like that metaphor, right?
Wow, it's like
because we are, and quantum physics is showing us we're actually creating reality. Reality is not happening to us like we've always thought. We're actually creating reality with our deep beliefs and reality of what we believe, right? So the journeys when we go within. And we start to get answers and downloads and awareness, things shift so much in our brain where then life starts to show up differently.
Wow.
So we are really responsible for our own reality. Do you find that to be true?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And the first thing that comes to mind is feeling worthy, right? Because if you don't feel worthy, if you're stuck and you're being beat down every day, then you're going to create that reality of not being worthy.
And you're going to pull in people who treat you like you're unworthy.
Exactly.
It's because it's just vibration.
Yeah. You're just attracting that to you.
Wow.
And I think that's a lot. I think I was surrounded by a lot of that, previous to the community that I'm in now. A lot of people dropped off of my life when I started this path.
Same. Well, that vibration falls away.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're in a vibration, right? Right.
Yeah. But in the moment, it's feelings of loss, betrayal, right? Grief, right? And it's like, it's difficult, but man, like the other side of it, the people that are in my life, the community that I'm in, like the love that I'm surrounded by now. Yeah. I'm supported. I'm totally supported.
It reminds me of okay, we're just vibration, right? Frequency. We know that. We're made up of particles and molecules. We're really, the illusion of the hologram, right? Yeah. So I used to go to like Buffalo Wild Wings where it's loud music and TV and fried food, right? There was a point in my time where that was my vibration, right? Yeah. And then I tracked all the people that were in that vibration. Now, I wouldn't, no offense to anybody listening who goes to Buffalo Wild Wings, it's just not my place. It's not my vibration. I'm going to go to a place that has soft music, maybe, candlelight, a connection, intimacy, and then I'm going to draw and connect. So it's just interesting how we can move through if we want to, we can expand, we can evolve, we can expand our consciousness. Yeah. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's, I've had the same thing happen since I've entered into this psychedelic healing journey where I no longer want to be a part of any of that, right? I want to have more intimate connections and a calmer environment, right? Because I didn't realize how much that was revving up my nervous system previously.
100%.
Yeah. Bright lights, all
sounds,
the stuff
noises.
And everything. And it's just like, and I didn't even realize how much it was affecting me.
Right.
And all the other people's energies and everything. Right. And it's like, now I'm very careful who I share my energy with, who I'm near, where I am, and how long I'm there,
That's beautiful.
So much coming to me even this moment, like talking about it.
So, okay. So you were doing the IV treatment at another clinic, and then something drew you to within. What drew you to within, and how did our model, I guess, add to your journey?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. That's a good question. Yeah. And I had a vision of within while I was in a ketamine journey.
At another clinic?
Before it even existed.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. That's why it spoke to me so loudly, because I saw it before it ever happened. And I say I saw it in the journey, and I don't know if I saw it in the journey or if I actually integrated it after the journey. Either way, it became, I had this vision of a retreat, of a holistic place with love and you could stay at, right? A retreat. I visioned that, because I remember going through, because the recommendation is 6 treatments over a 5-week, 4 or 5 week period. 6, this was what I did, the protocol. And I remember just how raw I was from doing that. It ripped off all my skin. And I had the luxury, because I owned a business, I had the luxury of taking off that time from work. Yeah. But not everybody would have that luxury, right? And looking at it, and I'm like, everybody should have that luxury. Everybody should take care of themselves and treat themselves to that time.
Give themselves a cocoon.
Yes.
Give themselves their own cocoon, right? It's so important to be able to give yourself that process.
Yeah, because you think, oh, I can't take 5-6 weeks off. I have this, this, and this. Well, guess what? You're going to lose all that if you don't. You know, like it's eventually going to fall off if you're not taking care of yourself.
Right. Take a pause.
Take a pause. It's okay. You know, and yeah. So I had that vision, and then I had a buddy from jiu-jitsu that knew you. We had a mutual friend, and he's like, "Hey, my buddy David opened. You know, he was a pastor." I'm like, "What? Wait." There's this pastor you know
in
that's not
another
serving
life,
medicine.
I was a
What's
pastor
going on?
for a few years.
And I love that about you. I love that. Like, wow, this is a guy I got to meet.
Okay.
That was very attractive, right? Because like I saw growth, and I saw a path, and I recognized that path. You know, and I'm like, I need to meet this person. And so I kind of ignored it at first. I'm like, yeah, great, I already have a place or whatever. And then I'm like, whoa, I need to listen to these. I'm being guided, right? Being guided. I need to, there's voices that are telling me things for a reason. They're saying, hey. So that's whenever I started doing the research, and you know, and I was like, wow, this place is really cool. So, you know, I'll go over there and tour.
I remember that day. Yeah. We sat right here.
Yeah, we sat in here and talked, you know, and shared our stories. And you know, but the minute I came in, I just felt the love and warmth of this place. And, you know, it was so new and everybody was so welcoming, you know, and you offered me a great deal and a treatment. And I went and I did the treatment, and I was so pleased with it. I felt loved and cared for. I felt held. I was very tethered, right? Like, even though I was out in the cosmos, I was journeying, I still was connected to my body, which I really enjoyed. I really had a lot of comfort in that. I felt like somebody was holding space for me, and I liked that, you know. But yeah, you know, I connected with you and the people here, and you know, and I believed with what you guys were doing, you know. So I just jumped in, both feet.
You jumped in with both feet, both hands, full head, like you cannonballed.
Yeah,
you cannonballed in here.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, you brought so much energy and laughter and fun in medicine, and then you just became a friend and a brother, and now we get to journey together and go to ceremony together and sit together, and it's been so fun. So, all right, so I hear there was pain, there was rock bottom, then there was the start of ketamine with the IV, then there was the transformation you went through. Now let's talk about what you've been creating. Because now the butterfly is flying. It's got the wings.
Yeah.
And your wings are beautiful and colorful. And one thing you've created are journey socks.
Yeah.
Right? You've built things, you've created things in the past. Journey socks are taking off. Everyone's wearing them, right? And so tell us about, I mean, there are many things you're creating, but tell us right now about journey socks. What inspired that?
You inspired that.
Oh, stop.
You inspired that.
Oh, my gosh.
No, it's like, you know, I'll tell you the whole story, but I remember one of the first memories I have of sitting in here with you, and I think it was shortly after we sat with the Toad.
Yeah, Mighty Toad.
I think it was around that time. You were wearing these socks they were like tie-dye socks with an alien on them. And they just really stood out.
That was a picture of you, by the way.
Is that what that was me?
That was you.
You had me on your sock.
So you inspired those.
I'm like, it just seemed like so much fun. And then I think I'd seen you wearing those in ceremony before. And I always just had, you know, because you take off your shoes when you go into a ceremony. Right? It's tradition. You walk in, and I'm just wearing white tube socks.
And you bring a totem usually to a ceremony, right? Like you always bring, so my socks were like a totem.
See, that makes, and it gives, I love it. It's something you're bringing in, and I really like that because I'm a shoe person. I'm just expressive. And so I thought, wow, I like that. And so on a journey we did at that teacher, I had been kind of milling with the idea of something along those lines. And during that actual ceremony was whenever the whole journey socks came together, you know, which is the first intention-based sock.
And it says intention right here.
Yeah. And it's for people that are on a journey. It could be any person. It doesn't have to be psychedelic journey.
Yeah.
Any kind of journey to remind you what your intentions are for that day.
Someone who could be backpacking across a country.
Yeah.
Bring your journey socks.
Bring your journey socks. Or to me, like I like to write my intention on the toes when in ceremony.
Yeah, you can write it right here. Like there's a perfect place to write. And I'll tell you, for anyone who, you know, picks up journey socks, there's so much love and magic and intention behind these socks, and there's so many people wearing them that you will create magic just by ordering these socks and wearing them.
Yes. Yeah. I've only got one pair that I'm working on, and I'm not some kind of like designer necessarily. I've always been a creative and an artist type, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to try something different.
Yeah.
And I think the psychedelics allowed me to think outside of what I've been told that I could or couldn't do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why can't I create socks?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, why can't I, let's do something. And I wanted to give back and help people with their intentions and, to be able to integrate, because you could take journey socks into your ceremonial journey or into your business meeting or whatever and be reminded, right? Let's say you take it into a ceremony and it's be loved, right? Like, I want to love myself. Maybe that's your intention, or allow. Mm-hmm. You can take them out of that journey and still be reminded of what that intention was. And that's what I really like about it. I mean, I forget what my intentions are a lot of times, afterwards.
Same. Or I try to find my journal or whatever it is. It's like, where is my journal?
You can't forget if it's on your socks, right?
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah.
And really, it's really not even about the socks. You got to create from thought, idea, creation, prototype, giving away. Yeah. What was that feeling like?
Oh, it's beautiful. I was just the biggest. It's so hard to explain. Gosh,
but you see the magic in your eyes and the laughter, and that's what I'm pointing.
Feel it.
That's what I'm pointing to. Yeah. Like everybody, we're creating itself all the time, whether we know it consciously or we're subconsciously creating our old patterns. We're creation. You got to experience creation, and look at the magic in your eyes. Look at that smile.
Yeah.
So it's not about the socks. That frequency you're in. What's the next thing you'll create? What's the next thing you'll create? Thank you for creating journey socks.
Thank you for the inspiration. Yeah.
What would you tell anyone watching or listening that just, feels hopeless, that feels like they're in the darkest place, they're at rock bottom? What would you tell them?
You're loved. You're loved. Someone loves you, and it will get better. Yeah. I've been there. So
what are some things that they can do?
Accept, shut out all the frequencies, all the stuff, and just go within. Mm-hmm. Listen to your own inner voice. Just stop. One of the things that I did when I was at my roughest place, and it's still become a habit to this day, I put on a 40-pound hiking backpack. And I would go walking in the park 4 or 5 days a week. This is like right after my wife and I split, and I was going through all the stuff with the business. Mm-hmm. I would just go walking in the sun in the park with this 40-pound backpack with the intention to wear myself out. So I didn't have to feel and think as much. I just needed to wear myself out. And I would take an Epsom salt bath. Yep. And it was like all I could do just to survive, right? Like that's what I did. That helped me survive. And I'm like, I just got to get through this day, and use my body. And plus walking, I would wear headphones. And I would just listen to just like some transient kind of music, vibrational, music that just really healing music. And so that was a meditation, right? And so downloads were happening and all kinds of stuff. And I was feeling some very settled through that process. I was integrating a lot of my ketamine experiences, right? So, yeah.
If I were to tell somebody that was really struggling, just reach out and ask for support.
Yeah.
And just know that there's a rainbow at the end. There's a light at the tunnel. There's a butterfly waiting to emerge, right? Because you are source. You are God's creation. You are part of the co-creation with oneness of this God experience that we're experiencing. And you are treasure, you are gold, and just ask for support. Ask for help, and watch the universe start to co-conspire to help you with that. And just and just trust. That's what I would say to someone.
Yeah, thank you for all you've done, man.
Man, thank you. I received. Thank you. Yeah. Love you, brother.
Love you.
Yeah. Until next time.
Yeah. We'll do it again.
Yeah, we will. Real soon. Cool.
Thank you for joining us today on the Going Within podcast. The Going Within podcast is sponsored by Within Center. Within is a ceremonial psychedelic assisted wellness center in the heart of Austin, Texas. Discover more about our transformative practices at within.center. If you enjoyed this episode, we kindly invite you to follow us and share your thoughts with a review. Going Within is hosted by David Naylor, production led by Patrick Stanger, and filming and production by Rare Media. Please note the statements made on Going Within have not undergone evaluation by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. At Within, we strongly recommend consulting your healthcare provider for personalized guidance on the diagnosis and treatment of any disease or condition.